All right, my name is Chad Hammer. I'm the invasive plant biologist with the Maine Natural Areas Program with Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. And now we're going to be talking about or demonstrating the functionality of iMap Invasives Desktop. So we just did the presentation on introducing iMap Invasives and desktop in the mobile apps, but now we're going to walk you through some of the functionality of iMap Invasives Desktop. And just to mention kind of the role iMap Invasives plays in the Invasive Plant Academy program is that your data will be ultimately submitted. Your invasive species data will be submitted to us, and we'll be bulk uploading your data to iMap Invasives. But this demonstration will be really useful to be able to see how to find your data, how to edit your data, also how to join organization and projects. And also just use the desktop interface. So navigate the map, search for records, and see what's in your area of interest, which is really useful for the planning stages, ultimately, the planning and surveying for invasives, and to see what's in your area. Okay, so let's get going. And what I will also say is it might be helpful to, when you're viewing these videos, is to really maximize your screen, maximize your viewing area of the video. And it might also mean maybe you have to minimize or close the transcripts to see the screen in a bigger display. All right. So we're going to first log into iMap Invasives at imapinvasives.org. And just remember, if you previously set up an account, which I hope you did, you have to confirm your account through your email. We'll just click OK here. I actually first wanted to show you, if I go back to imapinvasives.org, is the help and resources. So there's a ton of stuff here, user manual, a lot of devices for, a lot of documents for mobile devices. Some links to some great YouTube tutorials. And again, finding that iMap Invasives New York channel is a wonderful tool. I can't say enough about the work they're doing and the resources they have available. Okay, so there's a lot of good stuff here. So about iMap, about iMap Invasives and its creation, who we are, so different information on the participating jurisdictions and their partners, help resources, and then contacts. Okay, so log in, and here we are. All right, so what you'll notice are these hexagons, and this was also what I was saying earlier about just because there's no data outside of those jurisdictions, it doesn't mean there's no invasive species there. There's just a lot less users outside of those paid jurisdictions. Also, like what I was saying in the presentation, one of the first things I like to do is to filter on the jurisdiction of Maine and really just turning everything else off, and that'll really help to speed everything up a little bit. I filter, and we're also going to look at the unconfirmed records as well. So don't be confused. There's an unconfirmed approximate present species or unconfirmed present species. We really want the present species. Right. So these hexagons are just kind of aggregated data, so public accessible data. And as you zoom in, you'll actually see that those hexagons disappear. We'll see a bunch of green points. So what you're saying are these green points, those are all the unconfirmed records. Again, this is taking a little longer because it still has all of the other jurisdictional data on, but we're working on shutting those off now. What also helps sometimes is to scroll in and out, and it'll really help the system, the program to refresh. It might speed things up a little bit. Okay. All right, there we have it. We'll also, to kind of speed this up a little bit more too, is turn off. Right now, it's still showing us all of the species in Maine. Maybe I'll just kind of filter. I'll show you more about the filters in a minute, but I'm just going to filter some of these down. Maybe we'll look at European barberry. And Japanese barberry. Apply filter and continue. There we go. So we have lots of green, which are confirmed points, and we also still have some points in there as well. So those are our unconfirmed records. And again, it really takes that confirmation process of having a good, high quality photograph, and then a researcher or a professional reviewing those records and reviewing those photographs and making sure that it makes sense, that the geographic location makes sense for that plant and that species. And then those can get to confirmed status. So I'll show you the navigation tools. So we have the navigation tools like we had talked about. And to get around the map, you can either kind of click and drag on your mouse and also scroll in and out, or you can use some of these zoom in and out on the navigational toolbar. There's also a home. They'll bring you to the default map view. If you ever want to go back out. The crosshairs here, that'll find the location where you are. And you can also search locations. So we can put in addresses or geographical features or places, GPS coordinates. Maybe we'll just put in Augusta, Maine here. Okay, let's take us to Augusta. All right, so that's the navigation tools. Then we have the action tools on the top here. Okay, we'll come back to this create record in a moment. But here you can go to record. So if you have a record ID number, you can search the record. One of the big ones I use a lot are the filter records, mostly on this general. So you can filter by observer. You can search different observers if you know somebody's name or your name. If you want to find all of your records, you will just search your name and then apply that filter. And the only thing that will be on the map are the observations that you had made. So you can filter by observer. You can filter by species name, which we did. You can filter by. Now this is actually grayed out because we already picked a species, but I'm going to close these out. You can also clear filter here. That would also take off the main filter. So I'm not going to do this option. I just deleted the names. But now we can filter by species type, so kind of taxa. So we can look at animals, vertebrates, insects, plants, microorganisms. You can also look at growth habit, so like trees, shrubs, vines, what kind of niche they're filling. You can look at habitat type, so aquatic, terrestrial, semi-aquatic, marine. And you can also look at kingdom and genus as well. Okay, up back up the top, we can look at temporal data. So we're kind of looking at different time scales, maybe before or after a large event, maybe a harvest or maybe a disturbance with flooding. You can look at just different. You can sort your data by the time. Now, just keep in mind that if you do this, it's not so much, if you don't see invasives before a certain time, it's not so much that they weren't there, but they could maybe be factored by the amount of people using iMap invasives. So keep in mind these are records by the general public. Also, you can search by organization, so you can find organizations and also projects. There's a couple other options here that I typically use a lot less frequency. But you can search records by confirmation status or how they were confirmed. You can look at how they were verified and how they were evaluated, and also you can look at records that have photos and don't have photos. You can filter records by treatment data. Maybe you want to look at all the knotweed that's been chemically treated. And again, keep in mind that it might not be a whole comprehensive data set. It's only the records that were submitted by individuals and some state agencies. You can look at not detected records. So again, if there are searched areas and then you didn't find something, that's also important data as well. You can search records by the ID numbers, geography, different state, counties, towns, water bodies, conservation lands. And again, this is where the kind of GIS working in the background comes into play. It's pulling information from different GIS layers. Okay, and this is more for processing. I honestly, I'm not even sure if you would, a typical user would see some of this stuff. This is my account, and I'm the admin, the jurisdictional admin for plants. So I might have some different options here available to me. But that's pretty much it for filtering. Okay, another neat tool is this identify and measure. So you can measure distances on the map, just kind of from point A to point B. Maybe if you see maybe a big polygon, even though these are points, but let's just say this was a polygon. If you want to measure it, you can measure points on the map, double click to kind of stop that. 0.82 of a mile. You can also change the units here. But what is also really neat is, we'll zoom in a little bit. You can identify and measure, and you can create an area. And it'll tell you the size of that area, and once again, you can change the units if you so choose. But you can see what's there. So it'll show you all the invasive species records in your polygon. Okay. And I'll just show you what these records look like if you open one. You can either double click on it or you can click on the details here. Okay, we see a picture there. And it does have a reference photo, a jurisdictional admin kind of reference photo of that plant. Might not be identical, but should be pretty close. You can really see, if you so choose, a lot of data that you could collect. Okay, this person just did not did not have a need for it. Now, it's important to note too, every record in iMap Invasives also has a searched area attached to it. So even if you don't necessarily create a searched area polygon, even if you just create a point, it's actually creating a circle, a point of a searched area, and just putting that that presence record right on top of that searched area. But you can look at the searched area data and information. That's actually where you'd put in some treatment information if you wanted to. Okay, this user did not. But if we click on this here, this record, well, that can take us right back to where we were. But that's where the treatment data would be stored. Okay. And we'll save you some trouble too, just a little tip that I always end up doing, and always a headache. You can close these tabs out as long as you still have the map open. So if you, for example, I can just X this out and it's going to close out the search area, but my map will still be open and there for me. Okay. So just kind of give you an example, if I was to go to maybe this main menu and look at the jurisdiction species list, it's actually changing the map tab to this new one. So if I close this out, it's going to close out everything. I need to refilter, log back in, and it's a real pain. So if you don't see that map tab, that tells you that all you have to do is hit the back arrow. Okay, if you have the map tab open plus another one, then you can close out that additional one. For some reason, it didn't like that. It should have still retained our filters, but for some reason, it didn't. Maybe it's just taking time. I also don't have the best Wi-Fi at home here, so it might have something to do with that. There we go. So yeah, retain the filter. It's just taking a little time to load back up. Okay. I'm going to kind of show you that again. As long as I still have that map tab retained, I can always just close this additional one out. All right. And it's also important to know, I also like to have the system kind of self-populate these selections for me. So for example, let's just say I wanted to look at Japanese stiltgrass. And I could type it in there, and it's not really self-populating for me. It's just putting there what I typed. If I click on that, and it's going to put it there and apply, it's not going to come up because it's actually spelled wrong. There should be a space in there, at least looking at the jurisdictional species list. You really want it to kind of self-populate the choice for you. And you'll see what I mean here. Japanese stilt, and there it is. And you really want that common name followed by the scientific name. That's how it is in the jurisdictional list, and that's how all the data is attached to that entry. So you don't really want my first misspelling. You really want it that self-populated entry. So click on that, apply filter, and we can look at Japanese where Japanese stiltgrass is growing. And that's also, this is a good example of why iMap invasives is really important and useful. Especially in the timber industry. Japanese stiltgrass is an early detection rapid response species. It's really coming into our state pretty quick. It's expanding, and it's almost solely on skid trails and hiking trails and ATV trails. But we see it time and time again where it's just running up and down the course of skid trails from old timber harvest. So you kind of want to know where this plant is growing and make sure it's not in your area. And also make sure that maybe some folks that are running skidders and things like that or equipment maybe didn't previously work in this area, or just make sure that they would then kind of clean their equipment. Okay, so we can see some Japanese stiltgrass, Georgetown there. We have some in New York, Stanford. And again, you can create those polygons around there if you want to view it all. Okay, we're going to go back to Augusta. All right, so we've talked about the navigational tools, the action tools. So you can create, you can go to a record if you know the record ID. You can filter records, identify, measure. You can kind of scale or look at time sliders of time series. You can also export shape files and reports here. So you can just kind of toggle on different options here. Geodatabases and shape files for GIS, or just CSVs for more Excel spreadsheets, where then you can kind of analyze your data in different types of tables or make figures and graphs. And what's going to export is primarily the data that you have filtered on. Whatever is engaged in your filter, that is going to be the data that's going to export. Okay, and I'm still looking for my Barbary here. I don't know why it's not coming up. I've actually never seen it where it doesn't bring up the filter, but maybe we just try to refresh. We have our species, we have main. Oh, I see. It was actually probably on Augusta, Georgia. So we just weren't seeing our records. Okay. Let's try that again. Augusta, Maine. Okay, there we go. Once again, we have some unconfirmed pink and the confirmed is green. All right, so that's pretty much the action tools. Now we can talk about some of these geographic layers. If you ever don't see them, you can kind of toggle that on and off there, open and close the layers. You can open or kind of expand them from here. Okay, we'll start at the top. So a really nice one is the ability to change the base map. And that's really helpful because you can kind of start to understand trends on the landscape and the pattern of invasive plants. So some of these openings, maybe timber harvests, or you can see some streams and rivers. And think about the distribution and the patterns that you see in the landscape. Here's the base map. Add layers from your URL. So that's really more kind of online GIS kind of capabilities. We'll skip that for now. Different distribution layers. So again, you can look at, and this is pulling from GIS layers, but you can look at states, towns, water bodies, conserved lands, different type of topo maps, really kind of bring in different types of geographic data. Okay, you can turn different layers on and off here. So this is maybe if you changed your mind about the confirmed present species versus unconfirmed present species. Maybe you didn't want to look at unconfirmed anymore, so we'll turn these off. Now we just have our unconfirmed data left. Okay, you can look at all the searched areas, also not detected records and treatment data. Something that's really, and again, this is just another way to kind of pull in more kind of geographic layers from GIS software. You don't need to know how to use it. It's just kind of, again, using that GIS software in the background. Another really nice tool here to kind of cast a wider net on your filter is turning on iNaturalist data. So iMap Invasives can consume iNaturalist data. We can look at those observations as well. The only thing, the iNaturalist data is not filtered by our jurisdiction, so it's going to bring in all of the data for the country. So it just takes a little bit more time and slows things down a little bit. So I would recommend turning that off as soon as you're done with it. Okay, and there you have it. So there's a lot of barberry. You can click on those as well, and then it will bring you to iNaturalist and show you the records created in iNaturalist. All right, so we'll turn that back off. Close these layers up. So that's navigational tools, the action tools, the geographic layers. I'll show you the main menu here. So we can look at the jurisdictional species list. That's all of Maine's invasive species that we're tracking in IMAP invasives. The network species list, so all of the jurisdictional species list for the country. This is where you can also search different projects and organizations and also request to be in them. So here we are searching for different projects. Okay, and if we click on any one of these, you can also search for them, or you can request to create a new project. If you click on one of these, you will see its members, and you can also request to join the project. And then the project administrator will be notified that you requested, and that'll be either accepted or denied. Okay, so we have projects, and this is where I was saying you would not want to close that out because that's going to close down the whole program, and you'll have to log back in. And then your filters will be gone and everything. So if you don't see that map tab, then that kind of tells you to get back, you just need to hit the back arrow. Okay, so here's our projects. Get back again. The same thing for organizations. So if you click on organizations, we'll see all the organizations. You can either search them or just click on them, and you can also request to join an organization, or you can create a new organization. Now, there may be a couple of reasons you run into where you need an organizational number. And where you can get that, so we'll click on an organization here. And if you look in the tab here, it says organization -474. 474 is the organizational number. So you may need that. I believe you need that if you're going to put an organization in your mobile app. That's where you get that from. And the same thing, if you ever do decide to use Survey 123 mobile app, which is basically it's the mobile app that you can do a lot more detailed data entry, create points and lines and polygons. And you can create search area polygons with many different species within that polygon. If you do decide to use Survey 123 app, you're also going to need your person's number. So I'll show you how to find that. If you click on persons, you can search for yourself. Okay, and it has the person ID number right there. And also, just like the organization, it's also in the tab. So that's where you can get your number from. Okay, project, organization, users, person, and your account, that could also be useful. That's where you will see your account information and any projects that you're affiliated with, any organizations that you're in. Okay, and if you ever want to edit any of that, you can do that here as well. So you can click on edit. All right, what's also really nice, you can also create email alerts. So you can create those horizon scans that we had talked about. You can get alerted when maybe a newly detected invasive species, like an early detection rapid response species, is coming closer to your area. You can set those thresholds on distances that you'd want to be notified if it gets in that proximity of your area. You can create different scanning alerts for different species and things of that nature. So this is definitely really good to kind of look around in here. You can go to add, edit alerts, and you can choose a lot of different things that you might want to be alerted about. Okay, and if you do want to create an organization, maybe you have a business or a conservation organization that you're affiliated with, you can contact me to create those organizations. I'm the jurisdictional admin for invasives, primarily for plants, and I can set that up for you. All right, and I think the last thing is creating records. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to turn on our street view again, our roads, because it just takes a little bit less time to sync up, a lot less data in these generic road layers than satellite imagery. We'll go back to Augusta. Okay. So for creating a record, we have a couple options here. We can either create a presence record, which 9 out of 10 times is probably going to be what you're doing. You can also create a treatment record, so maybe a polygon, an area that you would maybe use chemical herbicide on, or manual removal. Mechanical, you can create treatments and polygons that way. You can also create not detected records. And also multi-record searched areas where you're really creating these polygons. Let me see if I can find one. We'll give that a minute because we just basically closed out the filter for barberry, and now that should bring up all the data for all the invasive plants, all the invasive species in Maine. Okay. As you can see, there's some creation of polygons there, and then with multiple species or multiple observations in those polygons. Create record. So that is what this multi-record searched area, or even just creating a presence record for polygon. Okay, so we can do that here. We can create a polygon. Let's see here. I'm actually going to go back to Augusta. I can easily delete it. All right, we'll create a record right in Capitol Park there. Present. And you can either create a pointer, polygon, a point. You just basically drop a point. Do something a little more complex. We'll do a polygon. And you can just create an area. Okay, maybe it's only in this corner of the park. Okay, next. You're going to select your species for this observation here. We're just going to do a fake species for testing. This is where you would tag any projects that are associated with this. You would add a photo, and then you can kind of collect some data as far as the distribution, percent cover. Has these real nice drop down, so it makes it really easy to collect some good data. Okay. Okay, would you like to add photos? No, for this one we can proceed without because it's just a fake species. And that's it. So then you can also search by these records, or you can also filter on the observer, which is yourself, and you can see all your records and presence records there as well. See what else we can do here. Maybe we found a whole bunch of these fake species in there. And we treated them. So we can make a polygon right over that infestation. This is where you can collect some treatment data as well. So maybe we hand pulled a lot of different options here, and no matter whatever drop down you choose, it's going to self-populate different questions based on your answer to kind of dig a little deeper and again kind of collect some really good data. Okay. And or you can also just easily just create a quick point. Okay, and just keep in mind that these, whatever records you do create, these are going to be unconfirmed. If you do want to go back and find them and maybe open them up, and if you're creating fake species, it would be good to find them and then open them up and see what it looks like in there, and also delete them when you're done, the fake species. Now, what I will say, the functionality here of creating records, how I mentioned in the video, the iMap mobile app, you can only create points. Okay, you can create presence and not detected points. But in the iMap Survey 123 app, you can do all of this. You can create presence treatment and not detected and multi-record search areas. You can create these polygons with treatment data and also multiple species in those polygons in the field without connectivity. So that is really nice. And that is, again, that Survey 123 mobile app for iMap Invasives. Okay, I think that's it. I appreciate you learning about this and sticking with us. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Chad.hammer@maine.gov. Thank you.